And in my opinion, I feel like Shanna Moakler is being a little bit bitter because why do you have to keep involving? Every time somebody asks you, well, what happened between you and your family, she keeps involving another woman. You always keep involving another woman. Like, another woman didn't break up your family. Your family been broken.
Long before Kourtney Kardashian ever entered Travis Barker's life, before the tattoos of her name, the fairy tale weddings in Italy, and the PDA-filled red carpets, there was another love story. One that burned bright, wild, and unforgettable. The love story of Travis Barker and Shanna Moakler. It's the version of Travis the world has almost forgotten. The young rock star with chaos in his eyes and fire in his heart, who fell for a woman who matched his intensity in every way. Back in the early 2000s, Shanna Moakler wasn't just another celebrity. She was a Playmate of the Year, a former Miss USA, and a rising TV personality. Beautiful, confident, and used to the spotlight. Travis, on the other hand, was the tattooed heartbeat of Blink-182, living life on tour buses, in studios, and under flashing stage lights. When their worlds collided, it wasn't quiet, it was an explosion. The beauty queen and the punk rock drummer, the pageant gown and the black hoodie, the controlled and the chaotic, their chemistry was instant and dangerous, and people close to them said it felt like lightning.
There's so much talk about your kids accusing you of being like an absent mother. What's going on right now? Can you talk to us?
I guess, it's heartbreaking. It's every mother's worst nightmare, honestly. But, we just had dinner with our kids and all their friends 3 weeks ago.
No, 3 weeks ago.
This has all started since my ex started dating a certain person. And, it's
Kourtney.
It's heartbreaking. Yeah.
They argued, laughed, made up, broke up, and loved each other harder every time. They were both so intense, one old friend recalled. When they loved loud. When they fought, everyone knew. Before Travis ever wrote love notes to Kourtney, he was penning songs and poems for Shanna. Before there was Kravis, there was the Barkers. They weren't filtered, curated, or branded. They were messy, magnetic, and real.
You could say anything to Kourtney or Kim at this point. What would you say to them?
Thanks for destroying my family twice.
Their love wasn't about fame or followers. It was about two people who burned for each other, even if that fire eventually consumed everything around them. And for a time, they were inseparable. Travis would call her his muse, his queen, his madness. Shanna would call him her rock, her protector, her addiction. It was a love story that Hollywood couldn't script, but it's one that's too wild to forget. Because before the Kardashian empire ever claimed Travis Barker's heart, Shanna Moakler already had it. It all started the way the best Hollywood stories do, by accident.
She's just absolutely fed up with everything that's been going on in her family. Like she said, she's claiming that she has no relationship right now with her children. 3 of her children live with Travis Barker. She has her daughter, Alabama, her son, Landon, and then also she has a daughter that she had with a famous boxer that lives with Travis as well.
The year was 2002, and Travis Barker was living the ultimate rock star life. Blink-182 was selling out arenas, the music videos were everywhere, and Travis was the cool, ink-covered drummer that every magazine wanted a photo of. Shanna Moakler, meanwhile, was already a name, a model, actress, and former Miss USA. She carried herself like a woman who knew exactly who she was. Confident, glamorous, and unbothered by the chaos of Los Angeles nightlife. Then, one night, fate threw them together. Some say it was a Hollywood event, others whisper it was through mutual friends, but what everyone agrees on is this. The connection was instant. He couldn't stop looking at her, one friend later recalled, and she wasn't used to being around someone so unpredictable. Travis was all tattoos, adrenaline, and edge, a storm disguised as a man. Shanna was polished, witty, and grounded, the calm after that storm. Somehow, it worked. They started dating almost immediately, and within weeks, Hollywood noticed. Tabloids called them the odd couple, but fans couldn't get enough. The punk drummer and the beauty queen, the rebel and the royalty. Behind closed doors, their chemistry was electric. They'd argue 1 minute and be inseparable the next. Friends said they could fill a room with tension or laughter. They were total opposites, but it was like gravity, another insider said. Every time they tried to pull away, they snapped right back. Travis wasn't shy about his feelings. He showered Shanna with gifts, love letters, and grand gestures. Tattoos of her name, roses delivered in absurd amounts, even song dedications. And for Shanna, it was intoxicating. He wasn't like the polished men she'd known before. He was raw, honest, and wild. The kind of man who'd write you poetry on tour and then smash his drums on stage the same night. By 2004, the whirlwind became permanent. They tied the knot in a Gothic-themed wedding that was pure them. Black lace, heavy eyeliner, candlelight, and chaos. It wasn't the standard Hollywood fairy tale, it was messy, loud, and real. But beneath the passion was a dangerous truth. The same fire that made them magnetic would soon start to burn everything down.
So she is now saying that she blames the family for the rift that is happening with her children, and the mama bear is coming out. Even worse, she said that this has been such a public thing that all the Kardashian fans have been bullied her, attacking her, and she's just really fed up, and that this is her truth and she has a platform to say.
Because with Travis and Shanna, love wasn't calm, it was beautiful, it was wild, and it was doomed to explode. If you were in Hollywood in the early 2000s, you knew Shanna Moakler and Travis Barker. They were impossible to miss, the loudest, boldest, and most unpredictable couple on the scene. He was the punk rock drummer with tattoos that told a story of pain, rebellion, and rhythm. She was the glamorous beauty queen, camera-ready, elegant, and effortlessly confident. Together, they were madness and magic rolled into one headline-grabbing romance. It was a love story built on contradictions. Travis was chaos, living off adrenaline, jumping between gigs, covered in ink and sweat, chasing the next rush. Shanna was the calm, red carpets, interviews, and beauty campaigns. But when they came together, something explosive happened. They were fire and gasoline, one insider once said. It was wild, but it worked. They balanced each other, or at least tried to. Travis adored Shanna's confidence and how she could hold her own in any room. She wasn't intimidated by his fame, she matched it. And Shanna loved the way Travis made her feel alive again, spontaneous, rebellious, free. They quickly became Hollywood's most unlikely obsession. Paparazzi followed them everywhere, from nightclubs to family outings. They weren't pretending to be perfect, they were real, raw, and dramatic, and that authenticity made them magnetic. Travis would show up at fashion events in ripped jeans and combat boots. Shanna would glide next to him in designer gowns and diamonds. They didn't blend in, they collided, and people couldn't look away. When they walked into a room, the contrast was cinematic. The rock star and the beauty queen holding hands, both carrying their own spotlight. They were the definition of opposites attract, but deep down, that difference, the thing that made them so captivating, was also the thing that would tear them apart. Because Travis thrived in chaos, and Shanna, no matter how strong, needed peace. Still, for a while, they made it work. The tattoos, the kisses, the late night fights, the makeups, it was all part of their rhythm, and Hollywood loved it.
My family's broken because of this family, and now my kids and I are alienated from each other because of another sister in the family, so yay for me.
When they appeared together at the MTV Video Music Awards, fans went wild. They weren't the polished couple you saw on magazine covers. They were real, messy, and madly in love. "We were never trying to be perfect," Shanna once said. "We were just trying to survive." And that's what made them unforgettable. Because before the world saw Travis Barker as the husband of a Kardashian, he was the husband of a beauty queen. One who loved him fiercely, even when it hurt. By 2005, Shanna Moakler and Travis Barker weren't just a couple, they were a show. Literally, MTV's hit reality series Meet the Barkers gave fans a front row seat into their unpredictable world. And what they saw was raw, unfiltered, and unforgettable. Before the Kardashians dominated reality TV, there was this. A chaotic, emotional, and brutally honest look at a family that lived in love and war all at once. "It wasn't scripted, it wasn't fake," Shanna later said. "That was really our life." Each episode was a snapshot of contradictions. Travis would be rehearsing with Blink 182, covered in tattoos and sweat, while Shanna prepared for a photo shoot or helped their kids with homework. He'd come home from tour exhausted, kiss his children, argue with Shanna, then collapse on the couch next to her, all before the cameras stopped rolling. Fans were obsessed. They saw a rock star who wasn't just wild, he was a dad. They saw a beauty queen who wasn't just glamorous. She was tough, funny, and fiery. Their chemistry on screen was magnetic. The love, the banter, the fights, the makeups. For the first time, audiences got to see Travis Barker, the husband and father, not just the punk legend. And they got to see Shanna Moakler as more than a pretty face. She was emotional, sharp, and fiercely loyal, even when it hurt. But with the cameras came pressure. Fame amplified everything, the highs, the lows, and especially the fights. Every disagreement felt bigger when millions were watching. Every sweet moment was dissected online. They had built a show around their chemistry, but that same spotlight slowly started to burn. When you live your love story on camera, there's no off switch and no privacy when things fall apart. It's hard to be vulnerable in front of the world, Travis once admitted. They see the love, but they don't feel the pain. Still, even as cracks began to show, the Barkers remained captivating. They were the couple people rooted for, passionate, imperfect, and painfully real. The show ran for 2 unforgettable seasons, and for a moment, it looked like their love could survive anything. But behind the scenes, the reality was darker. The fame, the distance, the pressure, they had all started to chip away at the foundation. They were trying to stay together for their kids, their fans, and maybe even for themselves. But deep down, both knew the storm was coming. Because when 2 people love like fire, it's only a matter of time before something burns. And when Meet the Barkers ended, so did the fairy tale. From the outside, Shanna Moakler and Travis Barker looked like a dream. The tattoos, the mansion, the kids, the MTV cameras. It was chaos and luxury blended into the perfect early 2000s fantasy. But inside the house, the cracks were already showing. The very thing that made them famous, the drama, the intensity, the passion, was also what was tearing them apart. The love that had once felt like fire now started to feel like smoke. When the cameras stopped rolling, the tension didn't. Travis's life as a touring musician meant long nights, distance, and endless temptation on the road. Groupies, parties, whispers, and Shanna, home with the kids, couldn't shake the feeling that the man she loved was slowly slipping away. He was everywhere but home, one insider said, and Shanna hated that the world got more of him than she did. Meanwhile, Travis began to resent the spotlight that Shanna adored. She loved the glamour, the photo shoots, the red carpets, the attention, while he wanted quiet after years of chaos. They were 2 people still in love but living in different worlds. "We started to feel like co-stars, not partners," Shanna once admitted. "It was like our marriage became a show we couldn't turn off." The more they tried to fix things, the worse it got. Arguments turned into weeks of silence. Love notes turned into cold texts. Every reunion felt temporary, like pressing pause on a breakup that was already happening. Rumors swirled about both of them. Accusations of jealousy, controlling behavior, and affairs. Some tabloids even claimed Travis had developed an obsession with Kim Kardashian, who at the time was working for Paris Hilton. Shanna didn't believe it at first, but the headlines cut deep. "Imagine seeing your husband's name linked to another woman every week," she said years later. "Even if it's not true, it breaks something inside you." By 2006, the cracks became fractures. Shanna accused Travis of being emotionally distant. Travis accused Shanna of being jealous and dramatic. The fights that once ended in laughter now ended in slammed doors. Friends said they were both guilty of the same thing: loving too hard, too loud, and too publicly. And once that love began to fade, the world watched every second of its slow collapse. "They weren't bad people," a friend said. "They were just bad together." The couple separated in 2006 and finalized their divorce in 2008. But the story didn't end there. Even after the papers were signed, they kept orbiting each other, co-parenting, arguing, reconnecting, falling apart again. It was like neither of them knew how to live in a world where the other didn't exist. And when Travis almost lost his life in the 2008 plane crash, Shanna was there. Proof that, despite everything, a piece of her heart still belonged to him. But time changes everything. Travis would eventually find new peace, new purpose, and eventually new love. And for Shanna, that was the final twist in a story that once felt eternal. Because what began as a wild fairy tale between a rock star and a beauty queen was about to evolve into a new chapter. One neither of them could have predicted. By 2006, the beautiful madness that once made Shanna Moakler and Travis Barker a Hollywood obsession had finally collapsed under its own weight. What was once fiery passion had become pure pain, the kind that comes when 2 people love each other so deeply, they start to lose themselves in the process. The rumors, the fights, the jealousy, the silence, everything that once made them unstoppable started to tear them apart. "I loved him so much that I forgot who I was," Shanna would later admit in a quiet moment of honesty. For Travis, music was his escape. For Shanna, the public eye was her prison. And soon, the home they built for their family turned into a battlefield of resentment and regret. When the divorce papers were filed, it was the end of one of Hollywood's most intense love stories. But even in the midst of heartbreak, there was no hatred, just two people who had burned too bright for too long. And then the tragedy that almost took Travis's life, the 2008 plane crash that left him with severe burns and a long road to recovery. When the news broke Shanna was there, she rushed to his side, showing the world that no matter what happened between them, love, real love, never fully dies. "We were family before the world saw us as a show," she once said, "and I'll always care for him." Even after they went their separate ways, their connection never truly broke. They shared children, memories, and a piece of Hollywood history that would forever tie them together. Years later, Travis would find love again with Kourtney Kardashian, a relationship that would reignite old wounds and rekindle the public's interest in his past with Shanna. But before there was Travis, and before the jet set romance, before the Italian weddings and the matching tattoos, there was the Barkers. Two people who didn't need filters or branding to make their love look real, because it was. It was flawed, messy, passionate, and imperfect. Everything love is supposed to be before the world learns how to market it. Even today, you can feel it in old photos, interviews, and every song Travis ever wrote during that time. A reminder that not every great love story ends in happily ever after. Some just end in history. Because before the Kardashian headlines and the red carpet gloss, Travis Barker was just a rock star in love with a beauty queen. And for a moment in time, that was enough to change everything. So what do you think, Hush Hush fam? Was Shanna and Travis's love story a toxic tornado? Or was it the kind of passion that only happens once in a lifetime? Tell me your take in the comments. Was this real love or just beautiful chaos? Smash that like button if you believe in the power of love that doesn't need a perfect ending to be legendary. Hit subscribe to join the Hush Hush Fame family, where we don't just spill the tea, we serve the whole story with emotion and truth. Drop a comment if you've ever had a love that burned bright and faded too fast. Your story might end up in our next episode. And don't forget to share this video with your friends who still believe that the most beautiful love stories are the ones that hurt the most. Because here on Hush Hush Fame, we don't just watch celebrity romance, we feel it. The fame, the fire, the fall. Thanks for watching. Hush Hush fam. And remember, every fairy tale has a truth they don't show on camera. Stay curious, stay bold, and I'll see you in the next one.